Hello and welcome to our podcast, Cozy Conversations with the Sister Project. I'm Lauren. And I'm Michelle. And we're so excited you stopped by for a visit. Come on in. Yeah, make yourself at home. We're two Midwestern sisters who love a good old-fashioned conversation and enjoy sharing our life experiences with one another and you. Consider this your one-stop shop for cozy, mindful well-being, along with some entertainment and lots of wheezy laughing. Oh, you bet there'll be a lot of that going around. Our goal is to live our coziest life and inspire you to do the same because the truth is, we think it's good for your mind and your body. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, let's get cozy. Well, hello there and welcome to Cozy Conversations with the Sister Project. I am your host, Lauren, joined by my co-host and sister, Michelle. Welcome, Michelle.
I just want you to know, Lauren, I'm a shield maiden now, and I'd like to be introduced as such.
You know, like how people what do I call you? Shield maiden Michelle?
Just Michelle, and know that I will kick your ass at any moment.
Well, okay. Well, watch out.
I don't know.
Michelle has finally finished some Viking show, and I think we're
done. Everyone's sick of it.
I'm not actually. I think people really enjoy the Valhalla and the cicadas, so I don't think everyone's sick of it, but some people might be.
I'm sick of the cicadas. I'm done.
Yeah, so you're over that excitement period.
I mean, I'm still having fun, but we're at the point now where we are in the dodging while walking phase. I was screaming on the driveway yesterday. I mean, Will was like, "Get a grip, you're embarrassing." But I mean, we're doing this now, and I'm over it.
Well, you said that it seems as though they're moving on to their next phase, which is they're banging to lay their eggs.
Yeah, there's a lot of. We had one of our listeners write in that she saw three or four couples that were doing it on her tire. So we are entering into the procreation stage.
Wow.
And the carcasses, it looks like a medieval, it looks like a Valhalla battleground, a Viking battleground.
And like I said, I'm not the butt to butt. The banging, the ass to ass. I'm so over it. It's so gross. It actually makes me want to vomit. Again, thinking about it, I will not be able to eat again today.
Well, now what we're doing is we're driving and we're hitting them on the windshield. And I told Ryan, it's like blackberries smashing onto the windshield.
I can't even enough. All right,
that's
you guys,
the texture.
Welcome to Cozy. I am going to vom. Welcome to Cozy Conversations. Michelle's right. Cicada silver lining. I will reach my goal weight by the end of summer.
Just 2 more weeks of cicadas for you to be at your goal weight. Perfection.
You guys, we have a great show for you today. We are talking about, I've got some mysteries unfolding on my home base that I'm sharing with. I'm going back to therapy, telling you about that journey. It is also June's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're talking a little bit about the guys today. And then, of course, what we're reading, watching, and listening to. Pull out your calendar right now, listener, and save the date. July 18th. That is the day to be at the new Lenox Curaleaf location. Mm-hmm. We're going to be having an Asking for a Friend. So I know it'll be kind of a drive for some of you, but who cares? It'll be so fun. Curaleaf puts on the funnest events, and you get a great discount on a whole bag of goodies of cannabis. So that's exciting.
You get a little entertainment from us, which who wouldn't want that?
Live in person. It is so fun. We'll have like the invite and everything out soon enough so that you can reserve your spot. It's free to attend. There's a raffle. And in the meantime, while you are shopping at your local Curaleaf, do yourself a favor and get yourself some of these. These are the Botanist 5-to-1 gummies. They are peach and nectarine. So 25 milligrams of CBD and 5 milligrams of THC. Glass of wine, baby. I had one last night though, and I passed out. Because I was tired. So this is what this does to you. It kind of influences
meet you wherever you are.
Already. It meets you where you are. I was exhausted, and this was like, you're tired? Let's just
let's put you down now. Nine.
But when I'm in the mood to like chill and relax, it is like the coziest edible out there. So this is by The Botanist. The flavor, so good.
On point.
And use our code SISTER30 for 30% off.
And I just want to say, folks, because if I had a dime for every time somebody came up to me on the street or I ran into or what have you that said, when is your next Asking for a Friend event? When are you? I need to go. I have to go. Listen, guys, you guys listen to us talk about our cozy, mindful well-being, and we inspire that all the time, every day, whatever.
All the live
long day. This is finally your chance to go and create your own cozy, cozy, mindful well-being. So for real, gather the gang, save the date, and go make a night of it. And when you leave, you are going to just leveled up your own cozy mindful well-being too. And that's
Michelle
what we're here
will
for.
be at the helm of the van when
I
it's
will.
time to get into the
Take you.
van and take you to the dispensary for maybe some of you, your maiden voyage.
Maiden voyage, which is the most fun part.
Stone Maiden, what are we calling you now?
No, just a Shield Maiden.
Shield Maiden will take you on your maiden trip.
Yep. I'll be ready to go.
All right, you guys. So enjoy the episode. There's a lot going on. Enjoy, stay cozy, and we'll see you on the flip side. I've got my candle lit.
Which one?
I am burning not a TSP candle. This is a Target candle.
Cute.
It says Extrovert, and I love the color of it. But I got it. Okay, do you want to see my worst nightmare?
Oh, then you must be in a bad headspace with that cracked nail.
I have 2 broken nails, you guys, and that just doesn't.
And
every day it's a reminder that my nails look janky.
Yeah, you've another. And for once in my life, I look as put together as can be.
It's not. I mean, please check out my thumb.
That's the worst I've ever seen your hands.
I know. And Tom is not in until Wednesday, and I've got an appointment. So, anyways, that candle is. I got that because I took a sniff of it while at Target. I don't really peruse the candle aisles that much, but I actually was but now that I have my little desk and office, vibe going, I like a small, like kind of tea candle kind of thing. And I took one whiff of that and it smelled like, right. But it smelled like a mango lotion, like a body lotion that Mom once bought me. I think we were in a mall in Arizona. And I was a senior in high school. So let's do the math of like 2000 and like 24 years ago, it reminded me of a lotion Mom got me. And
I'm glad that you had to have that mango scented lotion reminiscent candle.
Why did you say it like that?
Because that's just not a hue. I mean, I can understand not a hue. I can understand why like the smell reminded you of something. So you had to have it. That's just, I'm not even going in that. I'm not sniffing first. I'm looking at descriptions. And if the description has something that I want, I'll give it a whiff. If it doesn't, I'm moving on to the next thing. But I have to say, since we have our own candle line, I used to, and I kind of miss this, I used to peruse the candle aisle. Like we were just at TJ Maxx. I was just with Mia at TJ Maxx and I didn't even go down that aisle.
Well, it's a little overwhelming.
Yes, it is.
TJ Maxx's candle section is like super exciting and there's a lot of options, but like you get like almost like I'm going to pass out after 37 sniffs.
Well, that's how I am just walking down the aisles of TJ Maxx and really any store.
So much. No, Home Goods is
the overstuffed. I can't. I'm like, how? And I see these women, particularly the Eastern European women are fabulous TJ Maxx procurers of items. I see them.
Are you snooping in their carts?
I see them. I hear them. I see what they're carrying, and I'm like, why do they have such success here? And I am like, I feel like my brain is going to explode, and I can't be in there. So I just kind of followed Mia around. She got a couple ditties because she started her first day of work yesterday at Vintage Charms. Shout out Mia!
Shout out to VC, to Mia. Congratulations
family.
To Mia.
I know. Well, she loved it.
My thought about like Home Goods is when I see someone eating something, I'm like, oh, that looks yummy. Where'd you get that? They're like, Home Goods. I'm like, it's a one-off. Like you're never going to find that package again.
I know, because Lauren, let me tell you something. Mia, have you been seeing the trending Dubai chocolate bar?
Yes, the pistachio
cream.
It's a gigantic like Hershey bar shaped bar. And in the middle of it, so it's a milk chocolate, I think. And in the middle of it is that flaky, yummy pastry stuff. Like
it's phyllo. It's phyllo. And I think it's called
pistachio.
Kafka or something. And the only reason I know this is because
it's all over our TikTok.
And Mia and I tried to go on a wild goose chase to find the ingredients because we want to make this trending
candy bar. Why don't you just
order
one?
Well, because we want to make it. We think it looks fun.
You guys are cute.
We want to make it.
I'm like
and we could, but these ladies are making it. And I'm like, Mia, called her and I called her from upstairs. I was downstairs. I was like, let's go find the ingredients. Yes. Of our giant 1,800 square foot home. And she came downstairs. And she was like, let's go.
Call because Mom would just yell.
Oh no. I FaceTime everyone. What are we doing?
Because Michelle will call me and I'll be in the car and she's like, FaceTime me. I'm like, I'm driving. She's like, who cares? I'm like, well, I don't want to die today.
I know, but I want to pay attention to what we're saying. And what I've learned is FaceTime is going to give me I'm going to give you my attention. Whereas in ear time, there's 9 times out of 10, I'm going to do about 7 other things while I'm talking to you. And I'm going to lie and pretend like I know what we're talking about when we don't. And I know you know what I'm talking about.
And I know because Michelle will be like, I'll say something like, I'll tell her like terrible news. And she's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I'm like, what the fuck you? Like, I'm not even mad that I'm getting off the phone. Like, you're not listening. So-and-so's got like, and she's just, no, it's just none.
My friend Jennifer Pohl is on to me. And I also feel like it takes an ADHDer to know one. And she'll be like talking to me and she will call me out instantly. Oh, are we losing you now?
Yeah, we're losing you. Yeah.
We should.
Get the defibrillator.
Have a good one.
Michelle, I have a funny story to tell you.
Let's hear it.
So, listener, I'm going through, speaking of so-and-so having something, I am diagnosing myself sometimes in the past 2 weeks.
Yep.
So I am shopping for a therapist, which I've never done it like this before. Usually I get a recommendation and I kind of just go with it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I
see you later.
Sever ties.
Mm-hmm.
But this time around, I am like I'm taking calls. So therapists are calling me. And I've done some FaceTime or, camera, and some are just a phone call. And I definitely want to recommend seeing the person helps. Like just the phone call. It's kind of like what you were just saying about like, are you paying attention? Like I felt like I just need eye contact, especially when you're telling them last week you diagnosed yourself with lupus.
Yep.
You want to read the room a little bit. You want to be like, how's her reaction? So basically, I'm just going through some allergy stuff and I never Google. I Googled one time and then it turned into a bit of a spiral.
Yeah.
So I've been, like I mentioned, going on interviews or conducting interviews, if you will.
Hosting the interview.
I've been hosting them. So it's the only way to find a therapist.
When you host these interviews, what types of questions are you asking this? Because I think this is very valuable information for people that are seeking somebody like this to know.
So what I'm looking for is I need talk therapy because I need to talk about it. And I also need tools so that I can work on the struggles that I'm having. Like I love they call it health psychology. So like my health psychology or, just some tendencies. We've talked about this. Like I think I had postpartum anxiety, but I think I was like postpartum, like OCD and maybe, or always was. There's some stuff. So I'm actually looking for someone who is trained in that as well. So they can say to me like, okay, for sure you have OCD tendencies or you have anxiety that exhibits itself like that. So I'm looking for someone who has experience in obviously postnatal, even though I'm 2 years out, I'm just curious, as well as just OCD and has tools to offer. I also ask what kind of therapists they are. All of them are licensed and qualified, of course, because I'm going through different services. And then I tell them exactly what I'm struggling with. And I give them the 3 things that I'm having issues with at this current moment. I just am like, this is it. And if you are cool with this, let's rock and roll. And if that's not like one woman was like, there's other therapists out there that work better with OCD patients. Like maybe go check them out. See if you can get a diagnosis. And if you're not, then let's come on back. But she's like, I want you to definitely get the exact kind of therapy you need for your situation. And that woman I'm talking about in particular is one that like, I feel like she like clocked me over the head with one of those gigantic,
yeah, Thor hammer, like a Thor hammer.
Like she gave me like a pop. And so last week during like my spiel, I was like, so here are the 3 things I'm working on. And she said, give me an example of your like health anxiety. And I said, okay, so I'm breaking out and like I'm getting like red rashes on my face. Chronic hives. And they're getting to like now they're more in different areas, whatever. And I told her, I said, I did a quick Google search and I found that if maybe you get a hive on your face, you have lupus. And now I'm nervous. What if it is lupus for me? And then what if my lupus leads to dementia? Because my mother had dementia and died of it. And she goes, did your mother have lupus?
Brilliant.
And listeners, she did not. The test came back that she did not have lupus. So nowhere in my storytelling, my lupus just leads to dementia.
That was just the irrational kind of narrative you had created in your head.
Totally.
And then you couldn't get off the clicking, like the repetitive thinking of it. So you're like,
and
it's lupus,
what kind of treatment
100%.
Are we looking at?
I'm going to get the mask. I've got the lupus symptoms.
I'm going today to like my second opinion for what's happening. So I don't even have any answers yet. That's just what I was ruminating. And after she said that, she put into perspective what I've seen over and over and over again, that your mind lies to you, that your brain makes up lies. But this was the first time that someone kind of like, not the first time, but it was the way she delivered the question. And I answered back so quickly that it was like a, hello.
Yep.
This is so silly.
Like an immediate realization, like,
immediate.
Oh, yeah, no, she didn't.
She didn't.
So.
And we both had a bit of a laugh about it.
And did you hire her on the spot?
Well, she's actually the one that suggested that I find someone who specializes in OCD, because based on a couple other things I said to her, that I shared with her why I think certain things in regards to OCD tendencies, she was like, yeah, those are tendencies. You definitely want to go and investigate a little further, and then we can move from there. But yeah, I'm having a hoot of a time interviewing people. I was like, you get bummed too, because sometimes you connect with someone, then they're like, oh my God, we don't take your type of insurance. I'm like, motherfucker.
Now,
why
are you vetting people that don't take your insurance?
Because that was, I got, referrals from our friend, Dr. Chatterjee out of Meridian, Partners.
Psychiatric Partners. Yeah.
Yeah. So she is the one that kindly suggested people. So I was just making the calls, the introductory calls. And that's when I learned a few things.
Fair enough.
But if you are looking for a therapist, this is a really great way to do it. It takes some time, but at least you're weeding out the ones that won't do what you need.
I have another suggestion for listeners listening in on this conversation, as far as just a tip when you're going to therapy. You know, you were talking about early on, just diving right in and sharing kind of, these are like the 3, bombs that I'm working on at the moment. I think when you're in therapy or you're seeking therapy, a lot of times people are like, I mean, for me, I wasn't like, what am I going to talk about? I was like, hang on a second. Let me get the scroll. Let me get the scroll out and just go down the list. But
it rolls forward.
I think that people in therapy, this is like, it's not just when you're in therapy, you're an active participant. You are in therapy for a period of time. And my suggestion to folks that are doing this in the moment, to keep track, open your notepad in your phone. And as something occurs or something triggers you, or you feel the Jaws music over a circumstance, just jot it down.
Did you just say the Jaws music?
Yes, because I have a friend who went to a therapist who said, what triggers your Jaws music?
See, that's a good therapist. That's especially if you're a film buff like myself, like that, I'd be like, oh.
And now she knows. And she can communicate to her spouse or her family. The Jaws music is coming. Mm-hmm. Step aside. I need to navigate this.
The Jaws music, but also the note keeping.
Just keep track, because then you can go in there and jog your memory. And then maybe some of those are the headliners in your conversation. And who knows, maybe some of those things could be the guide to your breakthrough that gets you over the hump. So just be active, take notes. That'll help you be organized when you go and talk.
Absolutely. I once fired a therapist, like almost like on the spot. I was so dumbfounded. I was telling her something that was going on, and I was very upset about something about this person. And she stopped in the conversation. She goes, what a bitch.
No.
And I was like, wait, hold. That's for me to say. You are not allowed to say that. They're not allowed. It was just it was a breaking of a relationship between therapist and patient. And I was like, I don't know. It didn't come across well.
I once had a therapist.
And I left there more confused than when I arrived.
I once had a therapist that also, she laughed. She found something that I said hysterical in the moment. And she burst
making fun
out
of you?
No, something that I was sharing that somebody had said to me. She was appalled by the ridiculousness of that statement. She was appalled, and she laughed, and she was like she had her pad. She was quiet. She was just always nodding and listening and taking notes. And she had an out of body experience, and she apologized in that moment. She was like, I am I am so sorry. I have no idea what overcame
She
me
broke
in
the
that
fourth
moment.
wall. Yeah.
But I will tell you, I do have some like absolute hard nose when I go to a therapist, and there have been a couple.
Like what?
Like, first of all, I personally enjoy, I don't do teletherapy. I don't do phone therapy.
I prefer one-on-one.
I need to be in your place.
I
And for
agree.
me, that's a non-negotiable. And if you don't offer those services anymore, you're not an option for me.
I feel like those are really getting, not
but
slim to none,
but they're around anyway.
Yeah.
Also, like, your place has to smell good. If it smells gross, I'm not going to be able to focus on my problems because I'm going to be looking around to see where the mold is or if your cat took a shit in the corner.
Office, I feel like many of them have a very similar vibe. They're just kind of like, they're worn spaces. And I don't know, a lot of butts have sat on that couch.
Mine did not. My last therapist, and I guess I haven't been to her in a while because I haven't felt the need or have been spiraling in that way, but she had the ideal therapist office. She had a nice desk over there. She had plenty of plants. She had art. She had a little library.
I've never had something that nice.
I had an option to sit on a nice, clean, firm couch, or I could sit in a chair next to her that always had a box of tissue next to me that I would very often empty the box.
Yes, we need those tissues.
Anyway.
Amazing.
Anyway.
Bless a good therapist. Goddess bless. Okay, so I had another mystery happen at my house, and I had to do some detective work.
PI work. Well, you're good at that.
I am. I got to the bottom of it. So the other day, my neighbor called up. My neighbor text messaged me, and she was like, "Hey, I think I have a box for Luna that was delivered to my home." She goes, "But it's odd because it's my address, but it just says Luna on it." I'm like, "Oh, that's odd." And we are directly across the street. Like, it was just the matching number on the odd side. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Whatever. No big deal." And again, ready, you guys? I think anthrax bomb. What?
Oh my God. Okay. Yep. Got it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even she was like, "Can someone be playing a prank?" I'm like, "You're adding fuel to my fire that's already kind of like starting to burn. Like, don't do that." A prank? What kind of prank's on my 2-year-old?
That's an elaborate prank. You're just a gal on Flournoy.
And her birthday's in a month. She'll be 2. And I'm like, maybe it's something like that.
I can't believe that.
I know. I feel like she was born last year. This is a fucking phenomenon. When you have a baby, you feel like the birth was always last year. I'm going to see when she's 3, 4. Do I feel like it was still just last year?
And then she's going to become a sophomore in high school in a blink, in a breath, in one sip of air. And you aren't going to
bananas.
It's bananas. Bananas. Okay.
So this box arrives. I go, my neighbor drops it off. I take it, I shake it. And right away, you can tell it sounds like books. I'm like, oh, okay. Because you could just tell. You can tell by the the weight of the shake. Yeah. So I open up this box, you guys, and monster porn.
I'm sorry?
There's no other way to call it.
What's monster porn? What's monster porn?
It's monsters having sex. It's monster.
Is it comic? Is it comic
novels.
Book like? Okay, graphic novel. Fine.
It's not. There's not a lot. No, you're reading it. It's a book. Sorry, okay. It's a reading. It's a book, and it's like basically erotic monster. It's like erotic porn for monster fans. I opened the box, and there is a picture of a very big monster person going in doggy style to the recipient, who's also a monster. This is a cartoon looking thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's...
I'm trying to take my judgy face down. I'm trying to be like,
listen, people there is a genre of readers and books out there that for everyone. And I have a friend that loves like smutty, erotic, like cheating on your wife and husband kind of. And this one is all of that, but they're monsters. It's like fantasy porn.
Okay. When you say monster, can I get an idea of what kind of a monster we're talking about? Are these like any monsters?
Winged, big purple body, maybe some horns. Looks kind of like a devil with a huge big old dick.
Okay. Did you find the rightful owner?
I did. So what happened is I see the name. You guys look it up. Cleo Evans. Cleo Evans. They are the author. We've been in contact. I went on their Instagram page and I messaged them. I was like, "Hey, this is who I am. My my neighbor, I told them the story I just told you. And I said, and my daughter's going to be 2 and I really don't think that these are meant for her. And the author's like, oh God, no. And there was a lot of laughing back and forth. And they're like, if you're into monster porn, you can keep it. I'll reship. I'm like, you know what? Let's get this to the owner.
Let's get to the bottom of this. Now I want to put a name to a face of the reader on the other end.
So my neighbor,
did they come out in wings with like a big old
in their
dildo?
cosplay, big old strap on, ready to give me my monster costume?
See, you can't make this shit up.
No, you can't. And this is the thing I love about my house. The weirdest shit has ever happened living on where I live. I'm in the middle of the block. We're in the city. So you get passerbys, you get funny things. My block is kind of reminding me of like growing up on 50th Place. There's all these characters. Yeah. I'm just starting to know everyone a lot better. And we did find the rightful owner of the monster porn. My neighbor has a coach house behind them. So they called it a rear house, but I don't know, back in the day we called it a coach house. And that's not the girl's name that lives there. Her name's not Luna. Luna is her TikTok handle name. That's part of the name that she uses in her TikTok handle, which is where she bought the books from on TikTok. So they've been returned. And I think that monster porn, Luna is just having a good old time. She ordered like 8 books, so she's busy. She's got her
really
summer
into
reading.
It. She's found her genre.
She found well, she obviously, she's got a lot of books. So that mystery was taken care of.
Well, mystery solved. Good job, Private Eye, book detective Lauren.
Thank you.
Solved another one.
Michelle, before we move on to our hot topic, you have mentioned earlier in the conversation that Mia is working, and that just brought me to, I wanted to ask what it was like for their first year to be, it's done. Their freshman year of high school, which is a huge monumental year, has been completed.
Yes. So it's
like I feel like there was no drama. I had so much drama my freshman year of high school.
No. I think wonderful. That they learned a lot. I think that honestly, their first year of high school, the experience, there's so much fear from going into it, from the parents, from even, the nerves from the kids, although they didn't seem as nervous as, we might have been. They did great. And I think that they had fun and they learned a lot. But what I think that they did such a great job at was learning how to create relationships with their teachers and to advocate for them and coaches. And how to advocate for themselves and communicate, ask questions.
Love it.
And also know that, just because something is this way, or maybe something feels broken or unfixable, it can be fixed. And they both learned that in different ways. And I've seen so much growth in both of them, just as young teens.
And physically, William looks like a senior in high school.
I mean, his jaw, I'm like, where's your head? Is like so a grown man's head.
What the fuck?
I know, it's insane. And they're fun. There was so much kind of, our parents didn't speak they didn't love the teens. There was a lot of negativity. I felt
you are bringing it.
I fucking love teenagers. You know what? You got to be open. You got to let them be open and kind of meet them where they are. And it's
a really hard moment in life, those teenager years. There's a lot going on.
It is. There's so much. And then you add the whole social media and that other layer of things but for whatever reason, my kids have, both of my kids do not have FOMO. They really don't.
Oh, and good for them.
And I think that that's something that they may have adopted from me because that's
you
something.
Say no to things you don't feel like fucking going to.
And I don't care. I've never cared about like that. I never get my feelings hurt. I wasn't jealous if somebody had other friends and stuff like that. Just kind of pretty confident in that space. Mia, I have to say, well, they both have picked up hobbies. They're both obsessing right now over golf. Will is obsessing over golf. As we enter into summer, he's caddying, he's playing, he's taking lessons. He's really kind of embracing this thing, which is a great sport that you can do for the rest of your life. And Mia is obsessed with pickleball. I have to tell this story. She and her friend Lila, who she plays soccer with, they headed to the pickleball courts by happenstance last week. They grabbed a couple of wooden paddles, nothing fancy that we had in our garage. And they went to the pickleball court. And 2 hours later, I get a text from Mia and it says, "We just had the most fun we have ever had in our entire life. I just stumbled into a tournament and played in a pickleball tournament with 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds,
Oh
men,
my God,
women,
fun.
mean people, nice people. She goes, the next day I had to go and yep, intense, hardcore. The next day I had to go and get her a proper pickleball paddle because
sure.
she needed to up her game, whatever. Fast forward about a week later, she went to a party, all right, in town for about 5 minutes. She texted me. She said, Mom, I left the party. It wasn't that fun. I wasn't really into it. I would rather play with my 60-year-old pickleball friends.
Yeah, she'd rather go do that. Time well spent. That is amazing. And I have to say, just from an observer listening in on the story, kudos to both the teenagers like Mia and Lila for being like maybe speaking up, or maybe it was the adults that were like, hey, you guys seem interested. Do you want to play? Like, however it
Lauren,
happened, it's amazing that these two
put
very
themselves
diverse
out there
age groups
and welcome them. Well, Lauren, I have to tell you, I was like, I have to see for myself because she went and played pickleball again on Sunday. So I went for my walk in the woods and I walked all the way to the end of my trail. And then I took a left and I went kind of in a circle through Western Springs and went and met at the pickleball courts and kind of just went there and sat down on the spectator bench and chilled. Well, this is how you do it. First of all, let me tell you something. The pickleball court is loaded. There are people in there playing and there are people waiting.
Fights over pickleball.
Are you ready?
There have been like articles written about it.
Oh, yeah. It's a very popular sport. This is an intermediate level of play where Mia is. So it's more like just everybody's welcome. Anyway, you want to play pickleball, you put your paddle down on the bench. And when your turn is up, you go on the court with whoever your partner is. And you join in the fun.
Cool.
It is.
So she probably put her
she
little
goes, puts her paddle down and she waits her turn. And she played with, I watched her play with like maybe a 70-year-old man. I watched maybe a 75-year-old woman kick their ass.
Oh my God, this is so cool. This is reminding me of something.
What?
I just saw this little Instagram reel and it was a woman, like a young lady, say that my professor, I think she was in college. She was my professor invited our class to go on a hike and to have lunch with him. So it was like a 70-year-old little old Asian fellow. And she goes, and only 2 of us showed up. And he had brought this really cool, I don't know what kind, it was like the meat that you kind of boil. What is it?
Okay.
Like a hot pot. He was showing them like different ways, everything, just like cultural things. And then they went on a hike in the woods and he shared he cut up an Asian pear for them. And I'm like, and the comment section was like, this is where you are learning the most in life.
100%.
Is going
that
like
makes me cry. That's like a wonderful story.
Some of the comments were like, I know I'm sensitive because I'm crying right now.
That's like I'm
going through menopause because I'm crying. And it was just her and this other young lady. And I saw that and I'm just so happy to hear that,
because you know what happens when you step out, when you step out of your comfort zone or go try something new or go put yourself in a situation or take someone up on something that you might not that's where the magic happens.
And that's where the growth, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, love it.
Amazing. Well done. All right, moving into our one hot topic of the day, you guys. So June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And it goes by like men's health and men's mental health. But I did some reading and I thought it's worth, we have like those 3 male listeners. So I figured why not pick a topic that pertains just to them. And then for other listeners out there who have males in their life that maybe are showing signs of struggling or have been, this is the month to really, maybe consider getting that help you need, talking about things more. What really kind of kickstarted my interest in diving into this topic a little bit was, of course, I was on TikTok and I wrote like 2024 health trends just to see what came up so we can share here with our listeners.
Oh, good. Because we need our algorithm to change.
It's really fucked up right now.
Oh my God.
Anyway, Men's Mental Health Month came up. So I just did a quick Google search. And one of the things I found was a Reddit. And the writer, they write, or the poster, June is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. How are you? How is your mental health? Checking in on all the men on this subcategory, just wondering how your mental health is and how you're feeling. I don't think people talk enough about men's mental health, but we can change that today. And so many people commented. And a lot of the comments were actually on, showing signs of struggle, that people aren't at their best right now. And these sound and look like all male contributors and commenters. Not great. I don't know how I feel these days. Not good. Have done more with people over the last 2 months since my ex and I broke up, than I did in 5 months we're together. So that person was sharing a little bit more in-depth stuff. One guy writes, "I'm fucked." Another one just wrote, "Just started therapy." So that's good.
Felt like loneliness felt like the theme.
A lot
in
of
that.
loneliness. Someone wrote, "Just I'm alive." And I think this is a very interesting look at how, just to consider that, like, but this, if a woman wrote this, this would be like, oh yeah, here we go. Like, this is not surprising, but just to see men be more vulnerable and share these lonely feelings, these feelings of anxiety and depression, kind of just puts into perspective that there's probably a lot more dudes out there that are having mental health struggles than you would think, because as we know, and just some simple research, and obviously I think common sense tells you that there is the stigma of masculinity. If you are talking about your feelings or sharing things that are emotional, then you're a weak dude and then you're a failure.
That
and
is
it
so
couldn't
sad.
be, I'm like,
Further from the
remember
truth.
when we share that Eddie Vedder was like, like, here's to the guys that support their strong, like nothing is sexier to me too than a guy that can be honest with what's going on.
And also has the words. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Say more. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it has the words to share how they're feeling. I think that a lot of men don't even have the language to really formulate what is going on inside them, because especially our generation, I mean, we're kind of coming out of it. It was really the boomer generation, that it was like the silent generation where nobody talked and shared and showed any sort of, vulnerability. But like, just to be able to have the words to express how they feel is something that I think as dudes have to work at, because it's not been something that has been made accessible or, just second nature to be and talk and share in that way.
Yeah. And I think to compound that, there's this feeling of, we talk about a lot about how women have so much pressure and overwhelm. And I've talked to Anthony about in our relationship and communication, and guys have it too. Like, that does not go without, we talk about so much about how we do, but I think it's only fair if we look at how, I think every human, man or woman, we all have pressure to do well, to survive, to live up to expectations, to not look weak, feel weak. And it doesn't matter what you are. I think we all know that mental health it's neutral. It doesn't eliminate men. They're part of the situation as well when it comes to mental health struggles and anxiety. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that because, we have gentlemen in our lives, and some of them have gone and sought therapy. Anthony would be very candid. He has shared this. Anthony has gone to therapy. He sees someone for his ADHD. The growth I've seen him do over the years of being together and just working on himself, it does pay off, because it trickles down into his own professional life, into his relationships with myself and him, with his family, with his communication. And it takes a lot of work. Just as I was sharing at the top of the hour, finding the right therapist for yourself is a little bit like looking for a job or looking for an employee or whatever. It takes time and dedication. But yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
And it's just something like, too, you have to prioritize it. Just like we are always saying, prioritize ourselves and the things that are important to our wellness. Do the men have to put that at the top of the list,
totally.
And it's that should how you look is great and fine, whatever. And your fitness is all fab. But like, what's going on in here and in here, put that at the top of the list, because if your mind, body, spirit is not in connection, and
things are going to fall apart a little bit.
Something will fall off. Absolutely.
So they recommend during this month that, just to really highlight the agenda for the next 20 something days, is for the people in men's lives that if they are noticing or showing, if that person is showing signs of distress, anxiety, depression, like, figure out how to talk to them. find the time, not, in passing, like take the time, this month to check in on a guy that might be struggling in your life. And then there's so many resources out there. If you Google men's mental health, there's so much to like organizations men can get involved in, doctor references. And of course, Michelle and I were actually the guests on If You've Come This Far. And it was our first time being on more of a male dominated podcast,
Yeah, it was a men's
listenership wise
show.
and host. It's a men's show. And what a great podcast that is, because these guys, they're sitting there talking with other guys about real life things, having real life conversations. It's kind of like what you and I do here, they do there.
But the male version.
Exactly. And you guys, for any of our listeners, it's really worth checking out. Tune into them. They have resources as well. There's just a lot more out there. I think that women are so highlighted when it comes to mental health. And then of course, all the hormonal shifts that we talk to, that sometimes, we forget about guys might be suffering as well.
Yeah.
And there's so much for you to look into. And to our listeners who are guys, listen, you're listening to our podcast because you're also getting something out of it. So I hope that if you are finding yourself or even a friend of yours or a loved one who is struggling and needs either you to listen and be vulnerable, or maybe you need to be the vulnerable one and tell whoever it is what kind of feelings you're having. And also sometimes therapy is just fun to go to when you don't, not fun, but reflective to go to when you don't have a single thing to talk about, but just to kind of decompress, get some things off your chest. If someone's fucking pissing you off and you've dealt with it and you're just kind of figuring out, how do I deal with that person, but still love them? Things like that. How do I be a great parent, but also a wonderful partner and still bring bring home
and also,
whatever it is.
And also to hear from somebody that isn't your spouse or your friend or your relative.
Like an echo chamber of the same fucking people.
Yeah. Like everything you're feeling is actually normal and okay. And this is a safe space. And here are some tools or things, or maybe just some validation that you're not actually losing it.
Because I'll tell you what, being a person who ruminates and who comes up with illnesses, it does feel good to hear a therapist say, oh yeah, I've worked with a lot of patients who do have the same situation. Oh, okay, there's more out there. It's not just me. I'm not alone. And then you feel like, oh, okay, you've heard probably it all. So this won't come too much of a surprise.
Yep.
Great point there, Michelle, about finding someone else to talk to without being the same people over and over again.
Yeah.
Sometimes those people might be sick of hearing it too.
And I just have one more tip, normalize therapy and introduce it to your sons early. That is something that we didn't see growing up, because when you normalize it, when you make it accessible, when it becomes a part of the thing, you might find that later that child has the language, or that child understands that that's an option and can say, hey, can I go talk to that person? And, speaking from experience, I think that it has kind of laid the groundwork for just having access to those feelings and a language that they can use now.
Amazing. Luna will be going to therapy as early as we can get her, just so she can discuss things, just to have that access to a person who she feels, just trusted.
It feels normal to go to your doctor to a wellness visit every year. Let's normalize all of the other options and tools in our toolbox.
Started on how mental health, we didn't really learn the impact and its importance until our 30s.
Until I was like, I'm drowning and I guess I'm going to take someone myself.
I'm not
grown-ass adult.
What's wrong? I do yoga. I work out. Oh, my brain needs my mental health that you can't see needs some attention. All right. Well, listeners, all of you guys, hope you guys are taking good care of yourselves. Let's move on to reading, watching, listening to. So quickly, you guys, I am sorry for the noise. Not only reading, I am obsessed. Speaking of parenting, this is how it always is.
Oh, it's a Reese. Is that a Reese or an Oprah book club?
It's a Reese. Reese's book club. Claude is born. Claude, at the age of 3, asks his mom, hey, Mom, when I become a girl, will I have to start all over again? And Mom, Rosie, who's got 4 sons, happily married to her husband, looks down and was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when I become a girl, do I have to go back to being a baby, or do I just start where I left off? And this kid is one of those really kind of genius, has
spiritual.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so Rose, that's the first introduction to Rose, hearing her son Claude talk about being a girl. Then it goes into, I want to carry your purse. Then it goes into, I don't want to wear those kind of bathing suits.
The evolution of.
Yes. And it's two parents trying to figure out
how to navigate,
how to love their kid, accept their kid. It's an emotional read because you're this has got to be so fucking hard. And like, they don't want him to be made fun of at the pool, but they also don't want him to feel like here at home, you could be yourself. Out in public, you got to hide something else. And they're working on it. They're trying to figure it out. And I just want to leave our readers with, this book is filled with wisdom nuggets. This is a novel. This is, it's fiction. It's not, this is just all a made up story, but I'm sure reminiscent to many families out there. The mom says to Carmelo, her mother, Carmelo's the grandma. Grandma buys Claude a 2-piece because grandma said, you're old enough to pick out your bathing suit, go grab one. And he comes back from the, aisle with a 2-piece and grandma gets it. And the mom goes over to the house and is like, Mom, what is going on? Why did you buy him a 2-piece? And grandma's like, I told him he was old enough. I couldn't go back on my word. And that's what he picked out. So that's what he got. And grandma asks, the mom and says like, are you worried? Like, are you thinking about this? Like, what's going on? And she's like, I am, but I'm right now, he's happy in this moment and we'll worry about the future later. And Carmelo, the grandma says, right now is the only moment that you have. Like, this is it. Like, so.
Hello.
I know.
Oh my God. But like, that's
the kind of reading and nuggets.
Bomb, though. That's such a truth bomb. And that just like takes me back to my Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now. It's so true. If you find yourself in a space where you just can be present in that moment and you're happy in that moment, just take that moment.
And so
that is such
that's what kind of book this is. So I don't know what's going to end. He's got the brothers are concerned. One brother is scared to leave him from one school to go to his older kid's school because he doesn't want his brother to get beat up. It's really matter of fact how they speak about this. It's beautiful. I highly, and it's Pride Month. So there you go. This is a great book to maybe read and learn a little bit more about what happens to families when a child wants to explore different genders and whatnot. Michelle, you're
I wish I had
and
something
you're not
to share.
reading anything. This is fine. We don't have time for it anyways. Because you guys, Michelle's not doing anything. Michelle has turned into a Viking. So you have moved on to your next Viking show, Valhalla.
And I have to say that I liked it more than Vikings.
Oh, okay. So Viking Valhalla.
Vikings Valhalla. It's only 2 seasons. This is the deal, guys. The Viking women, first of all, they figured it out. Okay. They had it all right. Guys, Viking women had more rights than we might have just in a few years, months, whatever. Like literally, they could own land. They could get divorced.
Did they have body autonomy? That's my main concern. Did they have body autonomy?
Yeah.
I feel like they were the ones like chopping dicks off if someone pissed them off.
Well, they were also targeted a lot too. But listen, I told you this before, in the Viking ages, you could just take somebody down to the ground and kind of be done with it. And
you wouldn't even get in trouble.
There's this Vikings Valhalla follows Freydis, who is like the chosen one, and she's a woman. And it shows just like the feminine energy that was strewn throughout. Like, I couldn't get enough. I'm obsessed. But I did have to move on to something else because my family was starting to worry about me. Anyway, so let's talk, especially since we're talking about dudes is the theme and all of that. Will and I started, per the recommendation of my bestie Killeen, Full Swing on Netflix. You guys, it's feel good. It's eye-opening. It's this world that I've never taken an interest in.
Yeah, same here.
And so moms of sons or just golfer, people that love the sport of golf, and you have not seen this, enjoy. It's lighthearted and so fun.
Lighthearted, and it's called Full Swing on Netflix.
No one is chopping anyone's heads off or slicing their backs open.
Different vibe than Vikings. I recently watched the movie One Life starring Sir Anthony Hopkins. I have seen the video on social media over the years of a man his name was, he was also knighted. Sir, is it knighted? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Sir Nicholas Nicky Winton. And he was a young London broker who, in the months leading up to World War II, he rescued over 600 children from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia.
Damn.
And the lengths that he went to do so, and then years after, so he was saving kids in the 40s, and then about 40 years later in the 80s, he finds a scrapbook. His scrapbook is sent to a television show, and he brings the producers bring him on set, and he is surrounded, does not know it, by a good 100 or so.
Are you kidding?
Children who, they were adults, but they still forever referred to them. I have goosebumps. called them kids and the children, even though they were like 50 years old themselves. They just were always like the children. I met more children today. And it's just his story of how he decided to give up his life kind of in London to just go. He just felt a calling. He didn't really have much of a tie there. He just felt he had to leave his family, his mom, and go and help these people. And
Wow.
he's a hero. It's a really, really good, it was really well made. I cried throughout the entire thing. It's beautiful. It's called One Life. When it comes to listening, I am not listening to anything. Michelle, did you listen to Wiser Than Me with Gloria Steinem?
I'm binging Wiser Than Me. I have listened to Gloria Steinem, Ina Garten, Bonnie Raitt. I'm just powering through. Gloria Steinem's story is so unbelievable.
She's cool.
Cool is an
Brave.
understatement.
She is fucking
just a game changer. This is where she drew me in, like during a time when everybody was supposed to like get married and have a family.
Right. Right.
She was engaged to be married and she didn't want to be. And so she ran away she escaped and ran away to South Africa to do a fellowship there. And then obviously go on to lead this incredible life, which she still continues to lead. And the wisdom that flows out of her mouth has no bounds. Listen, I say that this episode is required listening for every woman.
For all. Amazing. I'm going to listen to it today on my way to my next doctor appointment.
It's fab.
All right. Well, that wraps up reading, watching, listening to. Michelle, to close out the show, what are you doing for your own cozy, mindful well-being?
Oh, sweetie, I've decided to add another day of working out with Megan Jackson to my weekly regimen. I am. I said I was last year. My goal was to get jacked. And I am committed.
You're getting jacked by Megan Jackson.
You know what? I'm getting jacked by Megan Jackson. That's so great. That should be her tagline.
I know, that's her.
We'll send it
You're
to
welcome.
her. We'll send it to her.
You can have it.
But I've for several months had been experiencing some on and off shoulder, elbow, wrist pain, and I have taken a pause from my yoga practice just to try to like figure out like what's causing this issue. Well, I'm pain free. And I'm going to ride this wave through summer and get in an extra day and see what kind of muscles I can build.
Jacked. I just saw Jennifer Aniston yesterday. She was arriving at some. I'm like, you are jacked. Her arms. Oh God,
I love her style too.
Her style is great. Her dress was beautiful. Okay, so I'm going back to therapy. I'm going back to therapy. I'm shopping around. I'm excited. There are things I need to tend to, but then there's again. Like I said in the moment that we're talking about guys' mental health, I just feel like talking. I sometimes feel like I unload on friends and family and I say things and I'm like, not that I shouldn't say it, but I feel like I can have a little bit of a direction to direct some things to that no one else needs to hear. And I just need to get it off my chest.
I think this is a good path that you're on. It's very cozy, mindful, and loaded with well-being. You'll see. It's all going to skyrocket.
I love it. All right, you guys, thank you for tuning in as usual. We hope that you find slow moments this summer. Say no to shit that you don't want to do. And yes to the things that give you those cozy wellness vibes.
Love it.
Okay. And as always,
stay cozy, friends.
Thank you for joining us for today's cozy conversation. For more of The Sister Project, check us out on Instagram at The Sister Proj and our website, www.thesisterprojectblog.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and maybe even drop us a review. Until next time, stay cozy.